Welcome to the ANEW Insight Podcast, empowering and inspiring your journey to optimal health. Hosted by Dr. Supatra Tovar, clinical psychologist, registered dietitian, fitness expert, and author of Deprogram Diet Culture. Rethink your relationship with food, heal your mind, and live a diet-free life. I follow my guests' journey to optimal health, providing you with the keys to unlock your own wellness path. Tune in and evolve with us. Hello and welcome to the ANEW Insight Podcast. I'm Dr. Supatra Tovar and I am very excited and I cannot wait. I have award-winning writer, producer, and host of the Well Adjusting podcast, Robin Hopkins, with us today. Robin, thanks so much for joining us.
Listen, any place that'll have me, I show up. So
Yay.
Thank you.
So excited. I'm going to read a little bit about Robin and then I am going to pick her brain. Robin Hopkins is an award-winning actor, writer, producer, and podcast host. She began her career as a stand-up comedian in New York City, performing at renowned venues such as Caroline's, Comic Strip Live, Gotham Comedy Club, and Stand Up New York. Her acting credits include appearances on television shows like Boardwalk Empire, Louie, and Hindsight. As a writer, Robin has contributed to publications like HuffPost and Medium, and her television writing includes work for VH1's Big Morning Buzz Live and Divas, as well as MTV's Teen Mom Reunion Special and O Music Awards. She is also the co-author of the book, If These Ovaries Could Talk, The Things We've Learned About Making an LGBTQ Family, which explores the journeys of LGBTQ individuals in creating their families. Robin hosts the podcasts Well Adjusting and Dear Headspace. Welcome, Robin, to the podcast. I'm so excited that you're here.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here too.
Wonderful. So I would love to know about your journey as an actor and then how it has evolved into writing and podcasting. What is your inspiration?
Oh, geez. I mean, I remember when I was God, it must have been like second or third grade. And I lived in upstate New York and I asked my mom if we could go to Syracuse because I thought that's where the commercials were made. And I was like, I have to do this. And by the way, I don't think commercials were made in Syracuse, but I was really firm on that because that was the big town that was near us. So it's like, it's something I've always wanted to do. What's weird is that I kind of backdoored into acting. Like I started as a stand-up mostly because I was more afraid of acting, which, is kind of a very weird thing and probably says a lot about my brain, that I was willing to stand up in front of people and fail miserably and be like, well, that was a joke, but not willing to show my emotions. So I'm sure that says a lot about my psyche. And then, but I think that starting off as a stand-up, you have to write your own material. And that started me on the journey of being a writer, is that when I left stand-up, one of the things I realized I missed was my voice, was being able to have an opinion and a viewpoint on an issue or a thought or about something personal to me, and then find something interesting and unique to say about it. And that kind of just started me on my journey. It's like I did the very New York 90s thing. It's like I did a one-woman show and wrote my feel, it's like you do all the things. And it just kind of snowballed and I just kept going. And I got to a point now where all of the 8 million different jobs I've had are kind of have coalesced into one thing. It's like where I became a producer and a writer and an actor and a podcaster. And it just kind of it all came together and made sense at some point. But it was not a straight path. Let's just say that. There's a gay joke in there, but we're going to let that go. just cause. And I'm gay, so I can say that, people.
That's
just
right.
saying.
Of course. I think that's so interesting. What do you think it was about accessing emotions that was scary to you at first?
Well, they weren't necessarily very safe in my childhood. It's like I had a couple of, my parents were both drinkers, and there was just a lot of explosive emotions in my house, especially between my mom and I. We were very, very similar. And there was the whole, there's this running joke in the family of I'd go in my room and slam the door. And then she would open the door and say, don't you dare slam that door. And then she'd slam the door. And then I'd be like, I didn't slam the door. And then I would slam the door. It was like, we just were always screaming at each other. And then, later as things kind of went along, there would be these things that would happen, not good things, and, because of drinking or whatever, and then the next day we just would never talk about them. And I think it created this kind of environment of, like, it's not necessarily safe, and I also felt very much like, I'll take care of everything. I'll take care of
Mm.
all the things, and I've got this. And that to me always meant, for a very long time, it meant you keep that to yourself until it's clean and you can share it as a life lesson for someone else, which is kind of
Wow.
hilarious. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like it's
But
like,
powerful.
yeah, it was a great uh power, but I didn't have any choice in it. And it wasn't, I
No.
had to get choice. I had to be able to understand when I could or should share, or when it was okay to keep it to myself. But that took a
Yes.
lot of work.
And I think there is a safety, even though stand up scares the crap out of me. I don't know how you do it because I feel
Well, I
like it's
don't
so
anymore, thank God.
it exposes
Yeah,
to
for
them,
sure.
and you can't like hide behind a character. You have to, present yourself, although you may present a character. But I think that there is a superpower that's often formed out of traumatic childhoods, and that's the ability to use humor
Absolutely.
to cope, to get through it. And did you find yourself using that
I
in
mean,
your child growing up?
I was
Sure.
always in trouble, like, always, like, just because had a smart mouth, like,
Mm.
my mom used to say, "There's the line, Robin, and you just have to step right over it," and she wasn't wrong, like, I was always, like, tiptoeing right up to it, but, it's like, I you know there's a thing with, like, funny that it's just, I think of almost like it's like the universe or somebody, like, in the way that, like, songwriters are like, "I didn't the joke the song just came right through me." That's how I feel about jokes sometimes. It's like, it's
Mm.
just there. I did not it's there before I could even think to be like, "What would be a funny thing to say right now?" It just comes in, and it took me many, many years to understand that sometimes you can't say that thing. You have to,
Yeah.
"Shh, not right now, Robin, not right now. You do that later." Like, and it's funny 'cause I'm gonna whisper, but I'm watching my son go through it now. He's in the other room gaming, so I'm gonna just be a little quiet about it. He'd be mad if he knew I was talking about him, but it's like I'm watching him try to find the line now, and it's very natural to him, and it's like, it's a way to make people like you if your self-esteem is low. It's a way to there's like a win in it, it's like acting is just a stripped down thing of like, can I go into this space? Can I play as this idea of a person? Whereas this is like a game. There's like a almost like a drug type feeling to it of like, not that I've done drugs, if my kids are listening. But, it's like there's this, like, I could be making a whole room of people laugh if there was one person with a stank face. I'm only gonna watch them, and I'm just be like, "I will get that mother to laugh." Like, I will make them, it was like, and you didn't feel like you did good unless you made that one person laugh. There's like a whole obsessive, like, thing around it. It's weird and exciting and fun, and it's, like, still, like, I don't do it on a stage, but it's one of my favorite things to do is, like, to just go into a store and get somebody to laugh. Like, that's
Ah.
just like, I'm always, like, just reading everybody's face going, "Can I get him? Can I get him?"
Oh, I love that, and I think it's like a power you develop. Did you find yourself I mean, in your home life, as chaotic as it was, did you find that making a joke in a certain moment actually diffused some of the tension, or did you find yourself making a joke later with friends to cope with what you just saw?
That's such an interesting question. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that. Don't I do think that sometimes there was, like, jokes to kind of, like, lighten the mood, for sure. Like, because I think when you grow up in a house where there's addiction, there's always an undercurrent, and that you become very aware of, and you're in tune to the emotion of the house and what's going
Mhm.
on, and so there was definitely, like, moments of that. I definitely used it for, say, like, I've struggled with weight. Oh, like, I've gained 60 pounds, I've lost 60 pounds, it's like I always say that my food stuff is like, I'm just glad it didn't show up for booze for me the way it did for my parents, and it's just more like a coping thing for me, or some kind of a it's something. We'll get into that later, I guess, probably, maybe. Let's
Mhm.
not.
Mhm.
But just kidding, just kidding. But it's, like, I would be I would make a fat joke before someone else could. Like, I'll take the power out of it if I
Mhm.
can, if like, it's my joke, it's not yours. So there's
Mhm.
definitely like ways that I used it, all throughout, you know, even just to like be like, I'm feeling like insecure. Maybe I can get people to like me this way, in
Mhm.
new situations. But so it can be a good thing, just like anything. If you have choice in it, it's a good thing. If you don't, it's often not.
Right. Did you find yourself, like, winning people over and increasing your self-esteem as you went along, as you kinda discovered this power?
I think any of the self-esteem work I did was really outside of that. I think that helped me, like, find my chosen family, that helped me just, like, it's one of like, laughing is one of my favorite things to do in life. I just think about people who don't, not that you have to be funny, but that people don't appreciate funny. I'm just like, "What do you do all day?" Because it's like, that just seems so serious, and life is so hard. Like, I love laughing. Laughing with my
Mhm.
friends is quite possibly one of my favorite things in the world to do. Just to,
Mhm.
like, when you have that, it's such a connection.
Mm.
And so, I like, it was part of it, but I feel like in order, like, building up my self-esteem was something I had to do on my own. It was something I had to do, like, in therapy and in self-help workshops, and just figuring out why did I believe that my value wasn't enough, or that I wasn't worth what I believe I am today, if that makes sense.
Mhm. Mhm. And do you feel like that work that you did enhanced maybe the work that you're doing now? Because if you look at, your podcast, you're covering parenting, career struggles, all of this, especially with humor and honesty. So, did all of that self-help work fuel what you cover in your podcast?
I don't yes, I think it all just, like, kind of coalesced. Like, I think there's no if you oh my god, if you one of my favorite movies, I mean, is it a favorite movie? It's a movie I love. The one with Sally Field and Dolly Parton's in it and Steel
Oh,
Magnolias.
yes.
Right. Okay, so there's that beautiful, beautiful moment where Sally Field is crying over the loss of her daughter, and she's sobbing, and, Olympia Dukakis grabs is her name? Shirley MacLaine, and is like, "Hit Weezer!" And it's like, and then they all are howling, and you're going from laughing to crying, and I love, whether it's writing or whether it's in the podcast or whether it's in talking to people, like, I love creating moments because I think that's the human experience. Like, how many times have you
Mhm.
been after a funeral that you're all sitting around, like, I don't know, like, eating weird finger foods that people dropped off at a VFW hall, and you're sitting there and you're making jokes because it's like you're
Mhm.
in the midst of, and then there'll be a serious moment, and I just think that's like that's all that life is about to me, is just those
Mhm.
moments of, like, hardship and funny, and the growth and the journey. So, well adjusting my podcast came out of that idea. Like, I have a Substack as well. Like, I love to say that I'm on all the platforms that no one asked me to be on. I'm like, no one asked me to do any of this, but here I am, like, "Boop, ba-doop, ba-doo, come listen to my podcast, read my Substack." So the Substack is called Shit I Learned from My Crappy Childhood, and that was the impetus for creating the Well Adjusting podcast too, was just this idea of, I don't have a single accreditation. Like, I'm not an MFA, I'm not an LSW, I'm not a PhD. I got nothing. I got nothing but a communications degree, but I have all this life experience and that I've
Mhm.
lived, and I have this, I don't know if it's just me, if I'm just like, a 75-year-old accountant trapped in my body, but like, any job I've had, like, I'll just be sitting on a couch and all the young people just come over and they're like, "Can you tell me what to do with my 401k?" And I'm like, "Absolutely, sit down. I got a spreadsheet for you." It's like, I once, like, there was a guy on my floor who, his landlord didn't give him back his security deposit. I said, "Absolutely not." I said, "Give me the phone." And I pretended to be his lawyer. I called up, got a security deposit. I was like, "This is some bullshit." I was like, "Let's get your money back." So it's like, there's something about, like, being with people and, like, laughing and being helpful, and it all came together in this podcast, where, like, someone gets to come in, and I'm not gonna be like, "Here is your path forward. You are healed." But what I am gonna do is we're gonna chat, and then hopefully at the end of it, you're gonna go, "Wow, I didn't think of that." And then we'll go, "Here's some homework. Go find someone who could help you with that."
Oh,
You
I
know?
love it. I
Because
love that.
right? Because it's like when we're in a problem, if you're in a problem alone, I think it's hard to see things.
Mhm.
I can have a full-blown discussion with me and all of my 17 different personalities about why it's right or wrong, and I can argue every viewpoint, and then I could just be stuck. But the idea of
Mhm.
someone else just helping you go, you've said that 10 times. Like, what's going on with your mom? I think that sometimes that's just really helpful. And we try to do it in a fun and funny way because again, I just think that's important. Like, I want to talk
Absolutely.
about your trauma, but funny. Like,
Well, I gotta say, Robin, that's not that different from what you do in therapy.
right?
As a
Except for the
therapist.
jokes.
Well, I mean, I love using humor
Yeah.
in my therapy. I think that that's like one of the most effective things that I can do with my clients is, find that moment and make them laugh or make them think about it in a different way, or just crack a joke, and you see it on their faces how that actually helps to heal them. And I do
Yeah.
think that laughter and joy is probably the highest spiritual state you can be in. So, the fact that you're facilitating that, I think that makes you kind of a natural therapist. So
Well,
give
I mean, I
me
should
give
probably go to school though if I was going to say this. So I'm honest to say,
yeah,
I'm only just here to like ask some questions. That's what I like to say.
yeah, and I love that. And I don't think you need to go to school. I think what you're doing is amazing. So keep doing it because it is helping people. Give me a picture too of like one personal experience that taught you the most about adjusting to life's challenges.
Hmm. I mean, it would have to be therapy in general. I mean, it would have to be. I got this lovely lady named Patricia. Shout out to Patricia, who like I try to leave sometimes, and I always come back like, "What's up, Patricia? How we doing? Should we get in there for a couple every other week for a while?" I would have to be that, but I mean, because out of that, well, I think I would in equal parts. I would say I did this one self-help workshop, and in hindsight, I think it was a little culty. So I'm not gonna say anybody should do it, like, because sometimes I found myself in places where I'm like, "Is a van gonna come pick me up?" I'm like, "I hope not." But at the end of it, like, I went in being like, "Oh, there's just these 2 issues. If I can just get some movement on these 2 issues." Of course, one of them was food, and the other one was a deeper issue, and I was like, "If I just get some clarity or heal these, then I will be good." And when I
Mhm.
came out, I did not heal them, and I didn't get taken into the cult, thankfully. But what I did come out thinking was I I made a commitment to work on myself forever. Like, it was just something clicked that, like, it's not like they love to say in 12-step programs, you brush your teeth every single day. You don't assume that brushing your teeth yesterday is helping you today. You gotta brush teeth
Mhm.
today also. And that's how I think about self-help and growth. Like, in part, I think because I lost both my parents. My mom never got better, and I had to watch her slowly deteriorate, and I just don't ever want that for myself. I wanna be here for my kids, and I wanna find just a little more joy every day if I can, if I'm able to,
Yeah.
just like a little bit more, and
Mhm.
that commitment, I think, changed everything. Because then out of that, I was willing to put myself in uncomfortable conversations in therapy. I was willing to do workshops. I was willing to talk about things that I would not have been comfortable talking about before. I was willing to let people in. I
Mm.
was ish. I was will I was willing to do work. And
Mm.
I think that change might be I think Patricia probably came out of me talking about Patricia like she's in the next room, like I got a hotline to her. She's probably so creeped out when she hears me on podcast talking about her. She's probably like, we could use some boundaries." But it's like I do think that she came out of that idea that I was like, "Oh, I got it. I can't do this alone."
Absolutely.
I
I
did
think
try
most
though.
people.
I did give it a college effort.
Yes, and I'm sure Patricia's like, "Aw," when she hears you talking about her 'cause she made such a difference. Maybe she's a little creeped out, but she's like, "Yay."
Yeah, like,
But
okay.
I think that a lot of people go into therapy, and I can see this with people coming into my office thinking that they have to fix themselves. And I love that you are couching this as it's like, it's progress. There's no fixing. You're always moving towards something. How do you encourage your listeners to maybe embrace more imperfection while striving for their growth? What are ways that you encourage them to do that?
Well, I think one of the biggest ways is that me and producer Steph, we are out there just airing our laundry. We are just like high-fiving our guests because we're like, we always love to make the joke. We're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Meanwhile, I did that earlier today. Like it's like, I see so much of myself in them in the growth. And it's like I just want to create a space where people feel like no one's talking down to them. We're just like all in this mess together. And like, hey, if this conversation it's going to help me just by having it with you, but if it also helps you too, that's great. And so I think that is really an important space in the show is like that people know coming in that we're just there, like we're idiots. We're idiots. We're just doing the best we can, and we're gonna assign ourselves homework, just like we're like there's like my dad used to always say like because he had just a crazy work ethic, and he would just say, I never would ever ask anybody to do anything I wouldn't be willing to do myself. And
Mm,
I thought of that like when I managed a restaurant. I've had like 8,000 jobs in my life. Like I managed a restaurant at one point and I was like, look, if I got my books done and you're behind, I'll come help on the bathroom. It's like I'm not above you. I'm not like we're like we all want to get out of the door. We all want to close up, lock the door and go home.
mm,
And I think about like help like that too. Like I'm willing to share my junk to be like if it helps you see something.
mm.
I'm willing to do the same work that I'm asking of you. Like I feel like Steph and I've gotten to do some really cool things. Like there was one person, I feel like the episode was called like, Where is my joy? And as a wrap up, instead of having an expert of the day, we did a thing where Steph and I for a week sent each other voice memos of one moment of joy each day. And I was having like a challenging time. Like I didn't find out. I was like thinking about getting on Lexapro, and which by the way led me to a psychiatrist who ran blood work. Turned out I had celiac disease, which I just found all this out in December.
Wow.
And since I've gone gluten free, like my mood is like significantly better, which is like insanity on stilts. That was
Mm.
the sidebar. But my point is that like I was struggling to find joy, and my voice memos were like sad clown. They were just like, I don't know. I was thought my joy would come at this party I was going today, but it was weird. I guess my joy. And then like by contrast, Steph was like, I'm out on the streets of London and there's a lovely rain coming down and I feel delightful. And I was like, I was like Eeyore, but there was something so wonderful in asking ourselves to do this exercise. I was like, wow, I'm struggling right now. And that's was interesting to see, and interesting to see like what ideas I had about what joy had to be, what it
Mm.
looked like, and what can't joy just be like I felt the grass on my feet. And
Yes.
hearing Steph talk about that was like, "Oh shit, what am I doing? Like, why am I
Mm.
putting the bar up here?" So it's like, I just think there's something lovely. I don't know if the audience gives a crap that we're doing it, but I love that that we're all doing it and that we're all in this together. Man, that was a
Yeah.
very long answer to your question, but
But
I did
it's
it.
I mean, absolutely, and I think that, that's one thing that I help my clients with in my practice is being mindful, and that's exactly what she was being in London. She was like, "Oh, I am observing right now, and right
Yeah.
now it's raining and it's really nice actually." And she was just in the moment. And I think so often we're not in the moment. We're in the past or in the future, or we're both. That is, I think, something that people don't have that awareness of, and they also have a lot of misconceptions about. And so I'm wondering for you, in all of the conversations that you had, what are some of the misconceptions that you have found about self improvement that you've come across?
Well, one you already touched on, which is the idea that you could be fixed.
Yes.
Um, and I think that extends to that, like, it extends to, at least for me, I don't want to make this a sweeping generalization, that like at, as I understand myself, like some wires were created, whether they were, like lines were, like there was an electrician in my body, and like things were hooked up, and they may be hooked up like that forever. And maybe certain lines are not great ones. Like when that one is fired, I'm eating a Snickers bar in a closet because I don't like what I'm feeling. But just because I can't get in there and unhook the wires doesn't mean I can't work to I love in my head the image of like, do you remember in like 6th grade when you would like make an electrical circuit and it was like when you crossed the thing, it created a current could, make the metal touched and it created a current and the electricity flowed. I like the idea of circumventing it, like that little switcher to stop the current so that it like runs off to another path that's a more positive one. And and so I think just that you can't be fixed, but like you can maybe like circumvent. I think that would probably be the biggest misconception. I think that's what I would say.
Yeah, and I would agree with you that I think a lot of people do feel like there's something inherently wrong with them. And I think that that's a misconception. I think that people have had a lot of wrong done to them. They've witnessed a lot of wrong. They've been told a lot of things that have made them doubt themselves. And I think it's so important for people to really delve inside and figure out who they actually really are, aside from what everyone else has told them. And then when they actually realize that, they realize that they actually don't need fixing.
Yeah.
And that's powerful.
Yeah.
And so we're going to delve into some of this more in the next half of this podcast, but we're actually out of time for this half. I can't even believe it. It's just flown by.
I can talk.
Stay tuned. Yes. And I love it. Thank you so much for joining us, and tune in next time for the second half of this amazing interview with award-winning writer, producer, and podcast host of the Well Adjusting podcast, Robin Hopkins. Thanks, Robin.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning into the ANEW Insight Podcast. Please remember, the contents shared on this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. You can find us anywhere podcasts are streaming, on YouTube at my.anew.insight and at anew-insight.com under the ANEW Insight Podcast tab. And follow us on our socials at my.anew.insight on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more updates. Tune in next time and evolve with us.